In Minnesota, the focus remains on the killing of Philando Castile, despite the Dallas shootings.
Regardless of the outcome of this case, it is clear to me that we need to come together as a community, law enforcement included, to improve our practices and procedures so we don't experience any more of these tragedies ever again.
But what's been striking about the demonstrations that followed Castile's death is how much the community has come together. The scene outside the governor's mansion has seemed almost a celebration of interracial harmony, as the largely white population wear their Black Lives Matter t-shirts and express their outrage at yet another police killing of a black man. That's because the state of Minnesota is overwhelmingly white, just 6% black at the last census. But it's also consistently rated as one of the most liberal, progressive states in the US. However, the statistics suggest institutional racism is just as pervasive here as elsewhere. Despite the state's progressive self-image, many of the social indicators here are very troubling. For example, over a 15-year period, just 16% of the population was classed as a person of color, and yet they made up 30% of the arrests made, 45% of those who died in police custody. Community organizers say racism thrives in Minnesota, including in the so-called twin cities of Minneapolis and the capital, St. Paul.
When you look at education, the high school graduation rates are completely disparate. When you look at the amount of people that have jobs, right, there's massive unemployment in North Minneapolis and in the other sort of regions of color within the Twin Cities. And then when you look at policing, police are constantly over-policing and harassing communities of color as well. So there really is a huge difference in the reality that white Minnesotans face and Minnesotans of color face.
The death of Philando Castile has brought the community together in shock, grief and outrage. But Minnesota will have to live up to its progressive reputation if it's to satisfy the intensifying demands for police accountability and an end to structural racism. Shihab, Rattansi, Al Jazeera, the Twin Cities, Minnesota.